Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. This episode, I'll be talking about how Joe Biden's ICE is deporting a woman who came forward to help build the case against the shooter in the racist shooting in El Paso. Who would have thought about that? And Newsweek tries to peg the GameStonk purchases on far right wing extremists. This isn't a political movement, and I'll discuss more about that here in a second. And finally, the World Health Organization finally visits the Wuhan market in hunt for the virus origin. But before we get started, why don't you go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you'd like to contribute to the show, please go to notcensoredyet.com/donate. You'll find links available. Every little bit helps, and it helps us stay independent from outside influence. So let's get started. Traffic stop leads to deportation of El Paso Walmart shooting victim. A survivor of the El Paso Walmart shooting has been deported, according to the DOCN Migrant and Refugee Services in El Paso. The woman, only identified as Rosa to protect her identity, was arrested on Wednesday for two outstanding citations from 2015 after a traffic stop by the El Paso police. She was booked into the El Paso County Jail Annex and transferred to the custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which deported Rosa to Ciudad Juarez on Friday morning, where she remains. Rosa and her sister were cooperating with investigators on the Walmart shooting case because she said they saw the shooter attack the first victim outside before he went into the store on August 3rd. We basically saw everything before he entered the store, and we wanted to tell what we saw. She and her sister then contacted the Migrant and Refugee Services so they could speak with the investigators. Rosa is a survivor of one of the most horrific events to ever take place in El Paso. She came forward and presented herself to both El Paso police and FBI officials to give a statement of what she saw on that fateful day, said Anna Hay, Deputy Director, Attorney at Law of the DOCN Migrant and Refugee Services and Supervisor of the Survivors of Crime Unit. The information she has was sufficient for the district attorney's office to issue a certification that she has been helpful in the investigation. So I'm going to stop right there. I think because she's contributed so much due to this awful shooting, she should not have been deported. And I understand that there's, a bunch of mixed things, but if you're helping create a case around a murderer, then I feel like you're doing your civic duty. So even if you're not American, and even, maybe not give her a citizenship, but definitely a residency, because at that point she's contributed to the United States. You'll have a lot of people argue, well, these people don't do X or Y or Z. And it's like, well, you know what? If nothing else, she's proved that she was willing to stick her neck out there and go talk to the police and go, I know I'm illegal, but this is more important than my status. This guy needs to be put behind bars. And even the district attorney said she had been helpful in the investigation. Rosa, who says she grew up in El Paso and graduated from Jefferson High School, said she does not know a life in Mexico. I had my whole life in El Paso. I got there when I was little. I don't remember anything about Juarez. I feel like my life was ending at that moment. Hayes said ICE officials deporting her, leaving her unsupported in Juarez, is a blow to Rosa. This is a decision to this decision amounts to re-victimization of this young lady who only came forward to help build the case against the shooter in this racist attack, Hayes said in the statement. So I don't agree that it's a re-victimization. She got busted for busted taillights, and they discovered she was illegal and she was supposed to be deported. So there's that, right? But then also, on the other hand, she was extremely useful in a case to put this person behind bars. So I feel like common sense should prevail, especially in Joe Biden's America. He could have stopped this deportation, but he didn't. And who would have thought? I thought he campaigned on stopping this. I thought he passed a memorandum, an executive order barring all deportations. So why did this happen? So we need to figure out what's going on. And I feel like individuals who highly contribute to the United States need to be allotted the opportunity to become citizens, or not even citizens, at least residents, right? Give them legal status to be in the country. And then if they choose to become citizens, then give them an option to become citizens. There's a path to citizenship, right? It's not something that should happen overnight, but it should be definitely merits based. On the merits, she should be allowed to stay in the country because she has contributed so much to the El Paso community by giving testimony to help put that person behind bars. But it's definitely a controversial topic. We'll keep our eye on it. We'll see what comes about from it. Jumping over to Newsweek, far right-wing extremists are using GameStonk chaos to radicalize and recruit new members online. As Twitchy reported, once the GameStop story took off, a reporter for Mother Jones decided to check out the messaging app Telegram to see if Nazis were trading GameStop and AMC stock. I'll tell you what, before I keep going, there's people around the world. There's Canadians, Europeans, Australians, Latin America. There's people from all over the world getting in on this because you're sick and tired of the 1% reaching in their pocket and stealing their money. So of course you're going to have Nazis. Of course you're going to have your full spectrum of people. But what was so beautiful about this movement is it had nothing to do with your skin color, it had nothing to do with your political ideology. It was we the people versus the establishment, and the people were losing the faith in the establishment. And by basically pulling their money together, they said, we're going to hit them where it hurts, and the only thing they know is money. So we're going to kick them in the crotch so hard they're going to throw up in their mouths a little bit. And that's exactly what happened. And you see that they're squirming and they're trying to drive a wedge between people, because by pushing this narrative of saying, well, Nazis are buying the stock, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to have your progressives go, well, maybe I don't want to be associated with Nazis. Are they going to call me a Nazi if they find out that I bought the AMC and GameStonk, right? So no, don't do that. Don't let them drive a wedge in the movement. Diamond hands, no paper hands are allowed. Diamond hands only, friends. If you're not familiar with Telegram, the story goes like this. Once Twitter decided to kick the Nazis off the service, they all migrated to Gab and then moved on to Telegram because it's encrypted. Meanwhile, conservatives started moving over to Parler, which Amazon Web Services then pulled down after the storming of the Capitol, seeing it as a platform for insurrection. But Facebook and Twitter are still on there, so I'm really confused. That piqued the curiosity of Hill Health reporter Nathaniel Wixel, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, who wanted to know what sort of overlap there was between the Redditors who were buying up GameStonk stock and the Nazis who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. That's pretty disingenuous. How many Nazis actually stormed the Capitol on January 6th? I feel like it was an extremely small number. I believe there's an extremely small number of Nazis in the United States. So let's stop throwing that word around so carelessly, because it's easy. It's just off the tip of your tongue, right? It's so easy to say Nazi, right? Just Nazi. It's super easy to say, but words have meanings. If you're going to call somebody a white supremacist, if you're going to call somebody a Nazi, you better freaking mean it, because eventually you're going to start having people start suing for libel and slander and all this on these news organizations, because it's words have meanings, and being pegged a Nazi is definitely not something you want to be associated with, right? Because there's a reason why they want to call you a Nazi, because it's a disgusting term. They're disgusting people. You don't want to be around them because they believe evil things. So stop just throwing the word around. Nathaniel Wexel tweets, what is your sense of the overlap between the Wall Street Bets people and the Nazis on Telegram and elsewhere who stormed the Capitol? Now Newsweek has gotten in on it and has been sourcing Proud Boy groups and such on Telegram to see if far-right extremists are radicalizing day traders on the service. The answer, yes, if you believe everyone to the right of Lenin is a Nazi. That they bring up a good point. Basically, if you're the right of progressive, then I guess everybody's a freaking Nazi, right? Like, what the heck is going on, friends? LMAO, the media is still using the Terrorgram boogeyman. These white supremacists make me sick. Just here for the ratio, you utterly insane dolts. The ratio, basically, like the ratio on that tweet, I believe they were ratioed. Let's see. No, they weren't ratioed. They got more likes than replies. But basically, somebody brought up a good point. The new McCarthyism. There are secret Nazis everywhere waiting to destroy the American way of life. Maybe it's a deflection so that people won't notice that the people actually destroying our society are the elites running it. And again, it is kind of like McCarthyism, right? You use it as a weapon. You say, oh, well, I think he's a communist, so maybe he shouldn't have a job. Oh, do you think he's a pinko? Blah, 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 blah. And they're just using it as a weapon to beat people over the head. They just associate anything they don't like is being a Nazi, which is BS. If young white males team up to do anything online, they're obviously white supremacists. And it's just their heads are exploding at this nonsense. Why is this a thing? Why does everything have to be this was the one populist movement that it spanned the political spectrum, right? Left and right populist agreed. You had AOC and Ted Cruz agree that the shutting down of the buying of GameStonks was wrong, and being forced to sell it was wrong, and there needs to be an investigation. You had bipartisan support for that. You have bipartisan support that these hedge funds driving these businesses into the ground is wrong. You had bipartisan support in buying the stonks. You have bipartisan support in Diamond Hands. It has nothing to do with white nationalism. It has nothing to do with Nazis. It has nothing to do with being white. You have people of all different colors buying this stock because they know the problem with this country are the hedge fund elitists and just the establishment writ large robbing people blind. And now they didn't have time to even pull a curtain down, like this beautiful red curtain behind me. They didn't even have an option to put a curtain before they did this. They just did it right in front of us. To what? And what, as I dare you to do something about it. What are you going to do about it? We're the government. We're the establishment. What are you going to do? In fact, we're going to regulate it so you retail investors actually can't outside collusion. You can't outside trade. But we can continue insider trading. So it's not a thing. But don't worry about it, friends. It's ridiculous. And people need to get their heads out of their butts. They need to understand what's going on. This is not a partisan issue. This is really a 99% versus the 1%. And until people understand what's going on, they're going to try pushing this segregation, this intersectionality stuff on it, and don't buy into it. Remember, it is literally one of those us versus them. It is the haves versus the have-nots. It's not even a has-beens, right? It's just a haves-not. We don't haves the billions that those hedge funds people do, that the establishment has. There's no reason why Nancy Pelosi is worth $100 million. She makes $250,000 a year. And she bought, what, $500,000 of Tesla calls? And it turns out a week later, Joe Biden signs the executive order for EVs. That needs to be investigated. That sort of insider corruption in the government is unacceptable. And there was even reports where the White House called Robinhood to tell them to stop allowing the purchases of the GameStonks. Again, we don't know how true that is. It was just someone throwing that up on a chat room saying, please don't kill me, or don't kill the messenger. I'm just some lowly IT person here in Robinhood, but I sit right next to Victor or Vlad's office, and I overheard a call with, Citadel and then the White House basically saying, you need to stop the purchasing of the stocks. And it would make sense considering that you have a lot of people with a lot of vested interests in these hedge funds now in the new Biden administration. So let's jump over to the Hill. WHO investigators visit Wuhan market and hunt for virus origin. Members of the World Health Organization delegation investigating the origin of the COVID-19 on Sunday visited a market in Wuhan, China, where many of the first infections were reported in late 2019. I'm going to stop right there. They're finding out that people in Italy had this as early as, I think, September, October, November of 2019, and they think part of that is due to the forced labor trade between China and Italy. So if you don't know, Italy essentially has Chinese sweatshops because not a lot of people want made in China clothes, right? So they want made in Italy sounds a lot sexier. You can charge more money. It sounds more high end. So what they do is they import labor from China and then they have to work off their plane ticket back to China. So they essentially have slave labor going on in Italy. The work conditions are disgusting, but they believe that's why the coronavirus was so bad in Italy was because of those sweatshops that they have in order to produce cheap garments and be competitive in the market and have that made in Italy versus that made in China tag on the garments. So not a lot of people know that, but do some more research on it. I'll probably do an episode here in the next couple days or weeks. That's something that is actually needs to be talked about because it's not as simple as it's just some tourists. No, Italy actually has Chinese slave labor in it. Maybe you don't want to call it slave labor. Maybe it's internment labor, or I believe internment's the word, but where you got to work off your way to get a plane ticket back to China. It's ridiculous. Peter Daszak, president of the U.S.-based group EcoHealth Alliance and a member of the delegation, confirmed the visit in a tweet, as did a top official with the International Livestock Research Institute. Daszak tweeted, "The now shuttered market gave off an air of historical significance and expressed sympathy to those in the city who lost their livelihoods as a result of the outbreak." So this is kind of ridiculous. It took a year. China wouldn't let people in the country. People are still trying to blame Trump, and it's like, well, the WHO tried going and China blocked them multiple times. Finally, the WHO can go. Trump doesn't run, the United States does not run the WHO. So I don't understand how this is Trump's fault. Peter Daszak, very important site visits today. A wholesale market fish are first, and Hunan seafood market just now. Very informative and critical for our joint teams to understand the epidemiology of COVID as it started to spread at the end of 2019. Team members gave the thumbs up to journalists covering the visit, but have been prevented from directly meeting with reporters. According to multiple news reports, China's government has faced criticism for some, particularly during the Trump administration, over the speed and level at which it has cooperated with global health experts seeking to better understand the origins of COVID-19. China's rate of new reported COVID-19 cases has remained largely flat. And are we supposed to believe the CCP that it's remained completely flat? There's two options for that. Option one is, well, and they're both believable, right? So option one is that they lied. That's definitely believable. They say, "Oh, well, we're the best because we say the best, and no one's going to say otherwise because anybody who says otherwise are just going to disappear." Right. And number two is they literally will weld you in your home until you die, and then you cannot spread it because you are dead. So either way, it is possible that it has remained largely flat, but I believe it's a combination of they're literally killing the people who have COVID, and B, they possibly are just lying about the amount of people who do have it. So it's a little column A, a little column B. For months after the country experienced its initial outbreak beginning in late 2019 and extending into 2020. The country has also begun rolling out several versions of COVID-19 vaccines. In late December, Chinese officials said the first known case of a more contagious COVID-19 strain thought to have originated in the UK had been confirmed within its borders. And I believe that's the case because now they're having to do those anal swabs in the cities and stuff where outbreaks are occurring with the new strain of COVID-19, which is super exciting. We all knew it just sounds like a lot of fun. Honestly, I'm glad I don't have to participate in the butt swabs for honestly, the nasal swab, I'm not a fan of either. It's extremely uncomfortable. I felt like I was swirling my brains around, but luckily I don't have glass insides to where I didn't bleed out. My wife, when she did it, bled everywhere. One of my good friends, he bled everywhere. So luckily I'm built like a tank. And just for fun, I'm going to jump over to this. Kat Timpf tweeted, "A woman stabbed her husband because she thought she found a video of him banging another girl, but it turns out that girl in the video was her. It was just from when they were dating, and she said that she was too skinny to recognize her past self." And that is hilarious. So What's your take from that? Don't let yourself go after you get married, friends. I'm the prime example for that. I have definitely let myself go. I gained about 20 pounds since I've gotten married. I'm working on it, but I love my foods. I love my carbs. And I'm one of those people that if I eat a lot of carbs, I gain a lot of weight. So it's a catch 22, and I'm not it's pretty bad. I'm working on it, especially with everything going on, and I feel like I need to be more healthy in general. I'm all pretty healthy in general blood work wise, but I feel like being stronger, faster, leaner is going to be beneficial depending what goes on, depending on what happens from this Wall Street bets thing. If things crack down, you are going to see people lose their marbles because now you're going to say, what's now? What isn't now? What are we supposed to do? You're taking everything away from us. Everything you said is possible is just a lie. And this is no longer what we, the people, wanted. You lied to us. So that's going to be it for today, folks. I'm just going to do the one video because it's Sunday and I actually have a birthday party for a family friend we're attending. So until tomorrow, I'll see y'all later, friends. Have a good one. Bye.